Good morning. We're here today to announce our decision in our search for Fresno's next chief of police. Before I do, I want to thank everyone that has been involved in the search process, from City Manager Wilma Kwan, Personnel Director Jeff Cardell, my Chief of Staff Tim Orman, and to the men and women who graciously agreed to be part of the interview panels, including many here today. I'm pleased we were able to get commitments from an accomplished and diverse collection of community leaders to help us in our search. I also want to thank our residents, over 1,200 of them, who took the time to fill out an online survey or attend one of 5 community meetings this past summer. They gave us strong opinions and sober advice that guided our decision-making process from the very start. That process became the most transparent public search for a police chief in Fresno's history. We took your suggestions to heart, and we heard your voices, and when we posed those tough questions to candidates, you all made a big difference. I'd like to ask my Chief of Staff, Tim Orman, to go through the specifics of the search process. Tim?
Thank you. I'll be here today to recap the search process. Just to let you know, we started this process talking about it in March of this year, contrary to what I've seen, read, or heard in the media over the last day, and put it in earnest starting in April. We promised 5 community meetings. We actually did 6. We started April 23rd in the Northwest. That was hosted by Judge Robert Oliver, who is behind me. We did April 25th in the southeast part of Fresno, hosted by Pastor Eli Loera and Pao Yang, also behind me. We did Southwest May 2nd with Pastors DJ Kreiner, B.T. Lewis, and Paul Binion. We also did May 7th it's in the Central Policing District, hosted by Jackie Ryle, former city clerk and world-renowned mediator. In the Northeast with Dr. Larry Powell, former Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And then we also did one May 16th with the Hmong community, hosted by the Hmong, including Pao Yang, Long Zhang, and many others. As the mayor mentioned, we did an online survey which garnered over 1,200 responses, at which point we took that feedback as part of our national recruitment process, received the applications, screened the applications, and narrowed it down to 5 candidates we brought in for an interview. Those 5 candidates were interviewed by a diverse panel that included people from the community as well as people from the city. I'll briefly name those people as that information is already public. Pastor Kreiner was one of the people on the interview panel, as was Pastor Loera, Pao Yang, Sukaina Hussein from the Council on American Islamic Relations, Judge Oliver, Superintendent Powell, Chuck Rioas from the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and also the Secretary-Treasurer of the Fresno Madera Kings Tulare Trades Council, Jesus Lopez from Fresno Boys and Men of Color, and Lorraine Salazar, owner of Sal's Mexican Restaurant and also former president of the Fresno Chamber of Commerce. From the city side, we had Wilma Kwan, city manager, Jane Sumner, assistant city manager, myself, Greg Barfield, who is here with us today and is our director of transportation, H. Spies, who is the mayor's director of strategic initiatives, Mike Carbajal, who is also here with us today, and H is as well. Mike is our director of public utilities, Todd Frazier, Fresno police officer and member of the Fresno Police Officers, president of the Fresno Police Officers Association, Kurt Fleming, former Fresno Police Department officer who has just recently been named the new chief of the Clovis Police Department, and finally, last but certainly not least in anyone's opinion, our current district attorney, who is also here with us today, Lisa Smitkamp. After those interviews took place with the 5 candidates last Thursday, April, I believe that would have been August 15th. We then interviewed the 4 remaining candidates the following day on Friday, last Friday. That panel was Wilma Kwan, the mayor, Chief Dyer, a valued member from our personnel department, Sandra Chavez Martin, and myself. And at this point, I'd like our city manager to talk about where that process went from there. I would say it was a very intense and important process that gave us a lot of information. Maybe.
Do you want to go before me? You're the boss, so if you want to go before me, let me know. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me in the back? Okay. I guess that's a yes. So thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to assure you all that this was a comprehensive and transparent process that really captured our attention over the past few months. That just speaks to the importance of the decision as well as the position. The individuals who applied are all highly qualified candidates and will no doubt continue to be successful in their careers, and we thank them for their interest in the city of Fresno. I had great hope that this search would clearly identify our next police chief. It did perfectly, but not in the way that we expected it to. We have a good, solid transition plan, and in agreement with the mayor, I have chosen someone to lead the Fresno Police Department who has earned the respect of the department and will work hard to maintain the trust of the community. It is my absolute pleasure to announce that Deputy Chief Andy Hall has accepted the position as police chief. Thank you again, Andy, for saying yes. Andy has been with the Fresno Police Department for 40 years and has served in many roles during his career and has risen up the ranks. He has served in a variety of command capacities within the department. He was promoted to Deputy Chief by Chief Dyer 3 years ago and has been commanding the department's support division. Chief Hall has performed excellently in these leadership roles and has overseen several large projects in the police department. He's well known in the law enforcement profession and has the respect of his peers. He's worked with the community throughout his career to build partnerships and trust, and Andy is a man of integrity and purpose. I want to emphasize a few important points. First, Chief Hall will immediately serve as acting chief until Jerry Dyer officially retires, and then on October 16th, Andy will become chief. Second, similar to Chief Dyer, Andy is in the city's Deferred Retirement Option Program, or DROP, and must retire in the spring of 2021. So he understands, and I trust we all understand, that his appointment as police chief has an end date. The good news is that Chief Hall is providing us with the opportunity to continue our search while he takes ownership of this position with the understanding that he has to build and maintain the trust of the community. This transition will also give Andy time to begin grooming the next generation of leaders in the Fresno Police Department. During the Great Recession, the department was unable to promote deserving individuals while hiring was frozen. Andy is ready to start preparing our future leaders today. I understand that some people will be and are frustrated or upset by this announcement, and I respect those feelings. But I ask that they keep in mind that this is probably the most important decision that I will make as city manager. It is far too important a decision to rush into or say that's good enough. To compromise for the sake of speed and closure would be disrespectful to everyone who took the time to tell us what qualities and experience they were looking for in our next chief. And frankly, that would potentially put the safety of our residents at risk, and I will not do that. The process worked. The community told us everything that was important to them. When we asked residents to bring their opinions and concerns to the table and help us vet the applicants, they responded in impressive fashion. That we didn't pick one of the candidates simply means that we did not find the individual we were looking for, or more importantly, that our community deserves, and that's okay. I feel confident that this decision is the right one for the city of Fresno and our police department. And I think it's important to note that I am more confident in this decision than any other I have made since becoming city manager. And this man is the best person for the job right now. So please join me again in welcoming Chief Andy Hall. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, somebody had told me when I was 18 years old and applied for this job as police cadet, it was honestly before I started shaving, that I was going to end up as the chief of police of the 5th largest city in California. I would have laughed. But here I am. I'd like to start by thanking the mayor and the city manager. Their support has just been unbelievable, and I can't thank you enough. I'd also like to thank Tim Orman, the mayor's chief of staff. He's really been a source of a resource for me since he came to the city and since I've been a deputy chief. I really value your opinion. Most of all, I would like to thank Chief Jerry Dyer for his leadership throughout my career. He's truly been a mentor for me and a friend. He's an amazing chief, and he will forever leave his mark on this city. And although I said most of all for Jerry, I really meant most of all for this next person. My high school sweetheart and my wife of 35 years, Jean. Her support and patience, she's truly my rock. She's always stood behind me in the good times and the bad, and she's always been my friend. And I can only hope to be the person that she is. And there I go. I want to take this opportunity to thank the community members. I sat last night and I read every comment that the community made in the survey, everyone. And I've taken them all to heart. I want to thank you for in this process. And I realize this probably isn't the outcome that they had thought it would occur. All I'm asking for everyone involved in the process and the community is to give me an opportunity to prove to you that I am the right person for this job at this time, and to allow me to gain your trust. Although I didn't apply for this position. I was asked to serve as the police chief while the city continues its search for our next leader. And once the city and the community finds that person, I have committed to the mayor that I will assist in the smooth transition for our organization. And as I stand here today, I am humbled. I love this city. I spent 40 years of my life here. I can't think of a better place to be. And I believe this is one of the finest police departments in America. I truly do. And I'm proud to stand behind the men and women, both sworn and non-sworn, who make this department a model agency. Again, I have devoted 40 years to this community, and I have seen firsthand the countless hours and sacrifices our folks make every day to keep our community safe, and including some who have given their lives and sacrificed everything. I'm not going to stand up here and brag about my accomplishments over the years, but I can tell you all those accomplishments were not made by me. They were only made possible through the hard work and dedication of our employees. None of my accomplishments, not one single of them, would have been possible without the devotion and dedication of those employees. I owe everything to them. This department is made up of caring individuals. I wish everyone could come and meet our employees. They're not perfect. and that's by God's design. And I will certainly stumble along my path, as well as the men and women of this department. But I will promise you that we will be held accountable for our actions. Anything less than that would erode the trust in me, the trust that the mayor and the city manager has given me, and this great department. Community trust is vital to this profession and is the cornerstone of law enforcement. I'm gonna go a little off script here. That always makes people worried, especially with me. But I'm gonna tell you, we have been so blessed to have Chief Dyer as our leader over the past 18 years. He is an amazing leader, and he's a once in a generation type person, and I honestly believe that. And I can only hope to be half the leader he is, and I will rely so heavily on my staff to even compare to him. The sense of loss is great, and I know that he will always be there for me, and he's only a phone call away. I'd also like to ask the community to come together, to stop taking every opportunity to break each other down. Whether it's for political or personal gain, it really has to stop. We need to come together as a city and be the city that we want to be. And we should support each other in the good times and in the tough times. And I think that's what makes us a great city, and I hope we can do that. With that said, I'm so excited about the future of our department. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And I hope that everyone in the community will work with me to make our community better. Thank you. Jerry?
Thank you, Andy. You're stepping into one of the toughest jobs in the city of Fresno. But I'm confident in your ability, and you've clearly demonstrated your leadership over the years, and I have no reservations we have the right person. But I think it's important that we hear from Chief Dyer to give his perspective on this decision. Chief?
Thank you. You got all these waters up here, nobody's drinking them. Well, thank you. It's an honor to be able to stand here today. I believe this is probably going to be my last time standing in front of this podium, a podium that I've stood in front of more than 1,000 times in my time as a chief. But it's an exciting day for me, an exciting day for the community, and an exciting day for the Fresno Police Department. I want to start off by saying that I am fully supportive of the selection that has been made by the mayor and the city manager in appointing Andy Hall as the next police chief of the Fresno Police Department. Andy is a 40-year veteran of this department. He spent the past 15 years as an executive staff officer in our department, 12 of those at the rank of captain, and the last 3 as a deputy chief within the department. Andy is somebody I've relied on heavily over the years. Andy's someone that has done so much for this organization so quietly. Andy is a proven and effective leader who gets results. He knows how to get the most out of his people. And you can ask Lieutenant Tucker, and he will tell you that. Andy has a solid reputation in the department and the law enforcement community, not only locally, but across this nation. Andy, in fact, has spoken at conferences, a number of conferences across this country on traffic safety as a result of his efforts in the traffic safety program here, and again, well known in the industry. In reality, Andy Hall could have served as a police chief in any police department across this nation, and I mean any police department. But he chose not to test for another agency. Why? Because he loves this community. and he loves this department, and he has chosen to stay. In fact, one time, I remember interviewing him for deputy chief, and he said, look, I've been good playing backup quarterback, and I'll continue to play in that position until I'm needed otherwise. Today, Andy, it's time for you to be the first string quarterback of the Fresno Police Department.
Really didn't mean that.
Andy Hall is very astute, very wise. Andy knows this. The Fresno Police Department is his to run, but the Fresno Police Department belongs to this community. And he understands full well the importance of listening to this community in terms of how we proceed as an agency. And I look forward to seeing that transformation. Fresno Police Department is a very complex organization, over a $200 million budget, over 1,100 employees. Law enforcement in general is highly scrutinized, often criticized. We have an extremely busy police department with over 3,000 calls a day that come into the 911 center, and that translates into about 1,200 calls a day that our police officers handle. This job requires someone who has experience, who's constantly looking for innovative ways to do business. It requires a person who takes ownership, who's willing to work long hours, weekends, holidays, and nights to be called away from their family in the middle of a family event. And Andy Hall, above all, he's a proven leader who is calm in the crisis. And that's what our city needs. Andy is decisive, yet he's willing to listen to people to find new ways of doing business. And he is one of those individuals in the organization I turn to frequently to resolve issues, whether it's with labor organizations or community members or political issues. This job requires a person who's willing to stand up for what is right, even when you stand alone. Andy Hall will do that and has done that. Andy has each and every one of these qualities. I am 100% confident as I stand here today, knowing that Andy Hall is the right choice to be the next police chief for the city of Fresno. And that is why Andy has my full support. I'll be a phone call away. I've got other ventures that I'm pursuing, but I will be a phone call away for Andy. And I want to compliment the mayor, city manager for this process. I've heard people say that was this a charade? Why did they go through this entire process if they were only going to select someone internally who did not even apply? Well, I think you heard our city manager and our mayor say the process proved itself effective. And the person who was best suited to be the police chief at this time is a person who did not even apply, but is standing here with us today. And I believe that's the right choice. So congratulations, Andy. And congratulations, Jeannie. You will want to spend some time talking to my wife about the stress and the impact of this job. So congratulations. Thank you.
I'll finish this up. So once again, we are restarting the process to find the best candidate to lead the Fresno Police Department, because this position is too important to settle for anything less. We expect to start in 2020 and look forward to your input and feedback that will help guide us to our final choice. And with that, we'll take questions.
Mayor, obviously a lot of critics, a lot of people protesting outside. You've termed transparent at least twice here. They don't think it's transparent. How would you address their concerns that they move this from public institution all here, and then they're not even allowed inside?
Well, there's a history here. Our Chief Dyer was announced 18 years ago as Chief of Police. I felt this was the appropriate venue to announce that Andy Hall would be our new Chief of Police. As far as transparency, if you look at in the past, searches for city employees, important ones like a Chief of Police, city manager. I think it was 18 years ago. There was basically internal candidates only. There was no national search. There was no citizens panel, to my knowledge. This one was the most comprehensive, most transparent process in the city's history of finding a chief of police. And we learned a lot from the process. There's a thread of communications and ideas that started at the inception, at these community meetings. We took notes. We heard what people wanted in terms of the qualities for the next chief of police, the issues that chief of police should handle. All those comments and notes were taken and put together by the city. We gave that to the recruiter. And when we did our national search, those ideas, those qualifications continued on and finished when we did the actual questions in the panel, included information and ideas that came from these citizen panels, these public meetings that we had. So that's a long way from what's been done in the past for the city of Fresno.
So what was it about the 5 finalists that they didn't get the job?
I can't comment on specifics. Go ahead.
I think it's very simple. They weren't the right choice at the right time. Period. They're all highly talented, just they were not the right fit at the right time.
And how were they finalists?
It's part of the process, David. It's part of the process where we vet the applicants, and they just were not, after we went through the entire interview process, they were not the right fit at the right time.
When the search resumed, will there be a public process as part of it?
Pardon?
When the search resumes, will there be a public component to that?
That's to be determined. We've not got there yet, but that'll be discussed, I'm sure.
Why were the members of the citizens panel told to sign non-disclosure agreements, and are they now released from those agreements?
No, they're not released, but we try to keep this process, put it with integrity.
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry.
You're the city manager.
Right. He allows me to butt in a lot, so I apologize for taking over.
My wife.
Yeah, Trish and I have a lot in common. They were asked to sign non-disclosure agreements to protect the integrity of the applicants. Whenever you apply for an executive level position like that, a lot of times your employer does not know that you're applying. So we felt that we needed to make sure it was as confidential as possible. And no, they will not be released from those non-disclosure agreements.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
will you be naming an assistant police chief?
There'll be a process, maybe our new chief, Andy Hall, can talk about it, about the replacement for his position.
My appointment will create a vacancy in the deputy chief position. I have been informed by the city that we will begin that process immediately to replace me.
Hi, Mayor Brand. So first of all, I think Wilma referenced a rush to find somebody, but actually you, Mayor Brand, had set up the mid-September deadline yourself, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
So the process is what you all set up. Talk about the process next year. When will it start again, and when do you hope to have somebody picked? That's one question. Second question is, you had made it very clear that this would be a key aspect of your legacy.
Right.
And now it's not happening. So define your legacy.
Well, I could have taken an easy choice months ago and said, let's appoint an interim chief. I didn't do that. I said, the voters elected me to make that decision. And that's my role along with the city manager in the charter. So we embarked on this process I described earlier, this expansive process and transparent process to get a chief. We learned a lot along the way. And so the process, I can't tell you exactly when it's going to start next year, but my goal is before I leave this office, we're going to have a permanent chief of police, and Andy will be, I have total confidence in him in the interim, but I want to leave this place with a new chief in place that meets the standards, the high expectations that we have, somebody that can have the complete trust and respect for the department, as well as having the trust for the community at large.
Was there any concern about any kind of conflict of interest in having Chief Dyer involved in the process while he's also running for mayor?
No, well, the chief was not involved in all the initial panels, only in the final one. Is there as a consultant. He's been the chief for 18 years. I think it would be foolish for us not to, take his input, and not only on local candidates, but on any candidate at all. So I think that was the appropriate choice.
Can the new chief talk about his plans? We know he's been a traffic guy for
Sure.
quite some time.
Andy?
What are his top priorities?
Well, I'm not going to go over all my top priorities because I haven't determined them yet, but I can tell you that one thing I'm going to do is we just recently went through a pretty significant hiring phase for new executive staff positions, captain and above. That was under Chief Dyer, and I think the selection he made were outstanding. And my goal and my job, I believe, is going to be develop those executive staff personnel to take this department to the next level. So expect to see them at community events and speaking to the public, and expect them to see them on your television screens because they're going to be out there. And I think that's going to be important for the community to recognize that we have such an amazing staff. And I think I really want the community to see that staff and to recognize that I believe that the best choice for Fresno is an internal police chief. Thank you.
Frank? Mr. Hall. Chief Dyer has been trying to, keep a relationship with the business community in his time here. So I was just wondering, especially with downtown revitalization efforts, so I was just wondering how you plan to keep that relationship going with the business community.
Well, obviously my door will be open, but I'm really going to push a lot of that contact down to my executive staff level. I really want them more engaged there. I believe they already are, but I want them to be more publicly engaged. So you will see them doing many more presentations in community events than ever before. And I really want to work on that relationship with the community, but I want to do it in a very broad-based plan, I think.
Mayor, I know you already talked a little bit about this, but of course the community in general, some of them are not feeling comfortable for the whole process. What do you have to say?
I think I feel comfortable that I made a good choice. We did a comprehensive process. And no matter, in certain respects, no matter what I came up with, somebody would find something wrong with it. We have to go forward. This is my role as the elected mayor of the city. And you can't please them all. But I think all in all, we have a great group of panel that represented the diversity of Fresno. We had professionals here, did an exhaustive search. And I'm very confident now with Andy Hall as our new chief that we'll be in good hands in the city of Fresno. And we will continue, again, like I said before I leave this office, I want to see that new chief off and running.
Chief Hall, what are your philosophies on policing?
Well, I'm not going to stand here today and go over all my philosophies. I don't think that's fair to me or the community. I'd like to meet more in depth with our community and to develop my philosophies. I don't want to be so closed that I already come preconceived with philosophies. I do believe in community policing. I think that's a cornerstone of our agency, of every agency, and it's the direction we are going and have been going for years. And I think I want to discuss that with the community leaders to really define what their vision is of community policing is. And I just want to be absolutely sure that it's the same vision that I have before I move forward.
Do you have comments on the incident that was discussed earlier this week, the video of the use of force incident in the 17-year-old came about?
I do not have comments. I'm going to rest on what the chief said at the press conference. I agree with everything he said. I was with him when we prepared that statement, and I have nothing further to add.